I have played a lot of video games in my lifetime. I've played some incredibly overhyped video games, I've played some very overrated video games, and I've played a lot of underrated video games as well. But I've never in my life come across a game as underrated as The Division. I still to this day cannot understand how this game was such a flop. This game has every possible element that you would need for a video game to be incredibly good, and for whatever reason people just didn't like it. The game is very similar when you break it down to Destiny, and with how incredibly popular Destiny was when it released, it is mind-blowing to me that The Division was not just as popular. In my opinion, The Division is one of the best games of our time. I absolutely love the game. I've poured hours, I poured days into this game, and the more that I play it, the more I just don't understand how it is unpopular. Not only did this game just fly under people's radars, not only is it a game that people just didn't really play, but people actually hated on the game, and it makes absolutely no sense to me. I have a lot of reasons for why I feel that this game is incredibly underrated, and wrongfully so. As I mentioned before, it's got every element that you would need for a video game to be amazing. So we'll start with the storyline. It's an RPG MMO game, so it's a massively multiplayer open world game, but it's also got a storyline to it. Now the storyline might sound a little bit familiar to you because it's actually an outbreak of a virus that shuts down the entire country, the government collapses, everyone just loses their mind and goes crazy. But there's a lot of factions that just totally take advantage of the opportunity and they start wreaking havoc upon the city of New York. They band together, they create these big old clans, and they start just causing a ruckus around the entire city, gunning people down, kidnapping people, rioting, looting, just your typical group of bad guys. Well, with the government being shut down, there's no police or law enforcement. There's nobody to stop them. Well, there is a band of agents called The Division, and they are the government's last resort. When something like this goes down, they're the people that you call, and you're one of them, obviously. You're a Division agent, yay. You're called in to start cleaning up the city of New York, to start putting it back together, to pick up the pieces, that sort of thing, to start, gaining control back from all of these rioters and looters. So it's a pretty awesome story, and it's kind of weird because it's very similar to kind of what we're going through today. Obviously not to the extent of The Division, but we're seeing very similar things happen nowadays, which I think is kind of crazy. Now the storyline isn't the only thing that's really good about this game. The progression is absolutely phenomenal in The Division. Now I don't know if you guys have played a game like The Division before, like Destiny or something like that, but the way that you progress in the game is finding better gear for your character. Obviously the more you level up, the higher level gear that you have access to find and loot and buy from vendors, that sort of thing. But the thing about The Division is that there are 3 different categories that you can use to your advantage. The first category is firepower, or DPS, it's your basic gun power, how powerful you want your gun to be. The second category is your stamina or your health, so it's going to see how many bullets you can take without dying and just how long you can last without dying. The third category is your skill power category, it makes your skill power incredibly overpowered. Now those 3 categories are the 3 categories that you use to build your character however you want. If you want to be an incredibly overpowered tank, you can just up your stamina and take a ton of bullets. If you want to be someone that one-shots everything, you can just up your DPS or your firepower and you can just one-shot any boss that you want. And then if you want to just have this overpowered turret or this overpowered skill power of your choice, you just spec into the skill powers. And each individual piece of gear that you equip throughout your journey in The Division will spec points into one of these categories. So if I want a new vest, that new vest can give me more armor, but it also will spec into a certain one of those categories. It might give me more stamina or more DPS or more skill power. So it's a really unique way to build your character where you can find a new piece of gear and decide, hey, do I want to spec more points into my stamina or do I want to spec more into my skill power? And each one of your pieces of gear, your gloves, your vest, any piece of gear that you can find, it will spec points into these categories, making your character build exactly how you want it to be. And the really cool part about The Division is that it's very easy to switch your build. So if you want to try a tank build for a little while, you can do that. And then if you want to try a really overpowered one-shot build, you can do that as well. And you can do it within a matter of just switching the gear that you have. So really, potentially, you can be carrying 2 separate builds in your inventory at all times. You have one vest that's equipped that gives you stamina, and the other one will give you firepower or DPS. So once you want to switch your build, you just simply go into your inventory and switch the gear that you have equipped. It's really cool what you can do in The Division and how you build your characters and progress in the game. You can find more gear, you can find more guns, you can find more mods for those guns. There's so many different ways that you can upgrade your character and make it even better. Not to mention, as well as the progression with your gear, you also progress in the base of operations. This is the main part of the game. The entire point is to level up your base of operations. There are 3 different categories in your base of operations. There's an electric wing, a security wing, and a medical wing. You can do missions for each one of these 3 wings throughout the entire game. Each mission that you do gives you points to upgrade that wing. For example, if I do a medical mission, I'm going to get medical supplies. I can use those medical supplies to upgrade the medical wing and get more mods, or I can get more skill powers, or I can get more upgrades using this. If I wanted to, I could upgrade a specific mod for my medical skill power, and so on and so on. You do this for all 3 of the wings, the security, the electric, and the medical wing. There are missions that you do throughout the game that gives you these points. You just upgrade all of the wings and you get more powerful as a character. So the progression is incredibly rewarding. The more gear that you get, the better that you are. The more missions that you do, the more upgrades you get for that gear. It's a very rewarding progression system, and honestly, I think that's a big thing that a lot of RPGs lack is a sense of reward for doing these missions or for grinding a certain way. It almost feels like there's a lot of RPGs nowadays that offer almost no reward whatsoever for doing these things, but not The Division. It is a very rewarding game to play through and to grind. So already we've got an incredible storyline, one that has a lot of potential and that I think is really good. We've got a fantastic progression system that makes it really feel like you are progressing through the game and you're improving. So already those 2 things are absolutely phenomenal. Now the thing that I think makes The Division the most unique game that I've played, and the reason I feel so strongly about how underrated it is the gameplay. The gameplay is absolutely unlike any other game that I've played, at least before The Division. The way that you move in this game and the way that you play this game is phenomenal. It feels incredible. What you basically do when you are in gunfights, which obviously is the main point of the game, is you're fighting against these rioters and looters. When there's a lot of them all at once, you're taking cover, right? And you're moving from cover to cover. It's a third-person game, and while you're behind cover, you can locate another piece of cover anywhere that you want and hold your action button and immediately move to that cover. So taking cover is incredibly unique. I've never really seen anything like it. While you're behind cover, if you aim down your sights, you will peek through the cover and you aim down your sights and you can shoot at enemies. As soon as you stop aiming, you'll immediately take cover again. So it works so well. When you're in these fast-paced, very high-intensity gunfights against a super loaded boss and you're taking cover, it's just a system that works incredibly well. Not to mention that, but it's super easy to dodge out of the way, and it just feels really good. It is a gameplay system that really feels like you are improving the better that you get at it. You can dodge out of the way of bullets. You can dodge out of the way and then take cover. You can move from cover to cover seamlessly. You can peek in and out of cover strategically. It's just a very strategic way of playing a game. Not to mention that, but you throw your skill powers in there. You've got a powered turret. You've got a little medical box, or whatever you've got in your skill powers. You can use that while you're behind cover. You can use it to your advantage. There's just so many different ways to play this game, and the way that you move around in the game is very unique. I really have never played a game like it before. So you throw all this in with an engaging storyline, with very entertaining side quests, a very rewarding progression system, and you almost wonder, how is this game a flop? That's a question I'm still asking myself to this day. The crazy part is this still isn't all of the good things about the game. We still got more. So this is all very geared towards, single player, or you can play it with a friend, but nothing really competitive, right? You're going through like a storyline, you're going through and pretty much just killing NPCs, right? Well, no. There's also a PvP part of the game, which is awesome as well. It is a whole other story in of itself. There is a section in The Division called the Dark Zone, and it's got its own entire leveling up system. You got your own individual Dark Zone levels and your own Dark Zone gear. It's a completely separate part of the game where you go against other players that are playing in the game. It's PvP, as well as you go against the hardest bosses or the hardest NPCs to fight in the game, all at once in the Dark Zone. And of course, the best gear that you can find in the game is in the Dark Zone. So you can run amok in the Dark Zone with your friends, just run in there, start killing a bunch of other players, killing a bunch of NPCs, gathering all this really awesome, juicy loot. And then there's a catch to it as well. Once you have all this loot that you've been grinding for the past hour or two, you now have to extract the loot. And when you call in an extraction, it will label that on the map for everybody. So not only do NPCs come flooding at you, but other players are going to come flooding at you as well and try to stop you from being able to extract your awesome juicy loot. So it adds an extra level of intensity to it. The Dark Zone is an incredibly strategic way to play the game, and it's the best way to get loot, and it's so much fun as well. It's got its own entire leveling up system, so once you're done with the story mode and the normal mode, you can grind out the Dark Zone. So I mean, we're looking at a game with an incredibly unique gameplay system, a movement system that you've never really seen before in any other game, at least before The Division came out. You've got an awesome storyline that's really entertaining and fun to play through, with fun side quests and main missions as well. You've got a very rewarding progression system. It really feels like you're getting rewards for playing the game. It feels very satisfying to play the game and level up. You've also got a PvP and competitive mode where you can go into the Dark Zone, extract good loot, and progress in an entire different zone of the game. There really isn't much more that you need, but there still is somehow more. The Division offers a fantastic map. It's one of the most awesome maps or worlds that I've played in. They did a great job creating the world. New York City feels very alive. It feels incredibly real. The game was made in 2016, so it's been out for almost 5 years now, and it still looks incredible. I just barely bought it again on my PC. Game looks phenomenal. The map feels very realistic. It's a great world. It's an open atmosphere. I love the map. So all of these things jumbled together, it really does create one of the greatest games that I've ever played. I've played a lot of video games in my time. I've played a lot of video games, and The Division sits firmly in my top 3 favorite games of all time. The Division is absolutely phenomenal. This game really did get a lot of hate when it came out, and there weren't very many people that really played it that much. And that was just shocking to me. It really was. The more time that I put into this game, the more I realize that this is one of the greatest games I've played. It is so much fun. The bosses feel very fun to fight. They are big bullet sponges, which I don't think is a bad thing at all. It takes work to kill these bosses. It takes a lot of skill. It takes a lot of strategy, which I think is exactly why the game is fun. The bosses are fun to kill. The missions are fun to play through. The world feels amazing. The gameplay mechanics are awesome. The game is just off the charts, not to mention there are some great DLCs. I won't dive into too much detail because they are DLCs. It's extra content, but the DLCs of this game are fantastic. The Underground DLC is an entire new leveling up system as well. So now if you've got the Underground Season Pass extension, you now are able to go into the subway systems, clear those subway systems out, do missions within Underground, and level up there as well. You've got your Underground levels, your Dark Zone levels, and your normal, Division levels. So there's tons of different ways to go grind and so much content in the game. It really is a phenomenal game. I still to this day don't understand how it's so underrated, but I just barely bought it again on my PC after dumping hours and days into it on my Xbox. I bought it on my PC and started playing it on there, and it just opened up a huge flood of memories that just came to my mind about how much I really enjoy this game. So I thought I'd make this video explaining to you guys just how great this game is, and just a game that I feel is very underrated. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts in the comment section down below, how you feel about The Division, or if you're going to try it out. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. Make sure that you do join my Discord. The link is in the description below. We're doing a giveaway. As soon as we hit 1,000 members, we're giving away a free game to any one of the members that is subscribed to the channel. So make sure you join the Discord. The link's in the description below. And I would love to hear your thoughts. Please let me know in the comment section, like right now. Make sure you comment, like right now.